Hi everyone, welcome to Friday's lockdown lesson. Let me just correct that a bit. Hope everyone's doing good today. This is the last lesson this week. I haven't had a chance to think about what I want to do next week. There's a bit of me that thinks whether it's a good idea to take a break in between each week to give the previous week's lessons kind of a chance to breathe. So I wonder what people think about that. If you feel like in some way you don't get a chance to do all the weekly lessons from the previous week because you're busy in the day and the timing doesn't work for you, would maybe having one lesson every or one set of lesson every 2 weeks be a kind of better format. So that's kind of part of my thinking process at the moment, and also it gives me time to properly plan the lessons, and concentrate on other stuff as well. So yeah, so that's my thought process this morning. I had a comment yesterday about noise, and there's some stuff in my flat that is particularly noisy sometimes. So if anyone notices that, and if there's a problem, I thought I'd had my mic set up in the right way so that it wasn't going to pick up that stuff, but I can't tell what you guys hear. So great. Is there anything else? Yes, if you want to come to my Tai Chi class, it's on a Sunday morning every week, and it's from 9:30 till 10:45. It's quite a small class, pretty humble, but maybe if people are interested in Tai Chi or Qigong or movements, especially at the moment when we are doing a lot of sitting down or staying inside, maybe it's just nice to move the body on a Sunday morning. So that's available. Also available is my Monday evening class, and that's an hour-long Feldenkrais lesson. In that class, I have been running through a series of Feldenkrais lessons from the London transcript, but I think I'm going to move on and change to a different subject now. So anyway, that's a lot of talking for this morning. Hope everyone's okay. If you're watching, if you want to drop me a little comment to let me know you're there. I don't think there's anything else I need to say. And yeah, maybe also like how you found the week of lessons, if they've been interesting to you, if you've noticed a difference in the way that you're holding your head or the way you're sensing yourself around the space of the head. Today's lesson is going to integrate some of the stuff that we've been doing this week, and hopefully kind of leave you with a nice flavor for the weekend. Okay, so when you're ready, if you come to a comfortable sitting position, and as you sit there, allowing your attention to kind of be drawn back in from the outside world back into the inside world. And just notice how you're sitting today, how comfortably you're sitting. Where on the chair are you sitting? Are you sitting forward? Are you sitting back? Are you sitting over to the left of the chair, to the right of the chair? And how does your head feel rested? As your head is obviously organized on the top of the spine, what's the sense of kind of rest or balance that the head has in this moment? And if you have done some of the previous lessons this week, maybe you can think back to one or two of the movements that we've done that you found interesting. And we'll see if they come up in today's lesson. Great. So just take a moment to feel your breathing. The way that we followed the air yesterday, I think, is a really nice kind of way to kind of introduce sort of a focus on breathing. So if you just for a moment pay attention to the sensation of air coming into the nose. As the air comes into the nose warms the air, prepares it so that it's easier to process in the lungs. Good. Okay, and then close your eyes if you haven't already. And very slowly, just tilt your head backwards as if you were kind of turning your face to look towards the ceiling. Tilt the head backwards as if you're turning the face to look towards the ceiling, and then just bring the head back. And just do that movement a few times and see how comfortable is this movement and what your range is as you do it. Taking the head back, turning the head towards the ceiling and coming back. And if you think about yesterday's lesson, if you did it, kind of sensing the shape of the skull and how the skull, as you do this movement, is moving through space. Just do it a couple of times with your eyes closed. And notice as you take your head back, so you take your head backwards and your face comes towards looking at the ceiling, do you breathe in or do you breathe out? Does it feel more natural for you to breathe in as you take your head up, or more natural for you to breathe out? And whichever one you did initially, whichever one you picked, try the opposite, just to feel the contrast between the two. Both are possible, but one might feel easier than the other to you. Great. Take a little rest. And just notice as you come back to rest, how does your head sit on top of your head now? And begin to just move the eyes. So now you're keeping the head still, but you're taking the eyes upwards towards the ceiling. Taking the eyes upwards towards the ceiling. Again, I would recommend doing this with your eyes closed. If it feels more comfortable for you to have your eyes open, that's okay. So you can leave your head still. Don't take my example. Leave your head still. And just use your eyes to look up and come back to the middle. And just do that movement a couple of times. See if you can get the eyes kind of working in a smooth line upwards and back to the middle. Good. Once you've done that a couple of times, begin to integrate the movement of the eyes with the movement of the head. So as you look up, your eyes also look up. And think about tracing a line with your eyes and allowing your head to follow the movement as you go up and as you come back down. And again, notice your breathing. As you do this movement and you take your head up and you take your eyes up, where's the breath moving? Is it moving in or moving out? Great. Okay, and then take a rest. So that's, I call this lesson integrating the head. So this is going to be integrating the head with the rest of the body. That was too long a title, so I shortened it to integrating the head. Okay, so that was integrating the head with the eyes. The eyes are obviously part of the head, but the eyes are a big, important key piece in the organization of the rest of the body. So did you notice as you took your head and your eyes backwards that there was some movement in the rest of your body? Just try it again a couple of times and notice, kind of take the focus away from the movement, but keep doing the movement. But see where else in the body is moving to facilitate the head coming backwards. Do you feel any movement in the chest, in the back, in the stomach, in the pelvis? Good. So hopefully those things were happening without you kind of being conscious of them, but maybe as we go through the lesson that will become more conscious in some way. So take a rest from that. Keep your eyes closed. Just take a moment or a few breaths, a few in-breaths and a few out-breaths, again focusing on this sensation of air coming into the nose, and use it as a way to allow the kind of internal attention to develop. So it's almost like you're following the air internally. And that's allowing your attention to be drawn back into yourself. Good. And then just notice, where is your tongue resting in your mouth right now? What position is your tongue resting in? Is it touching the upper palate? Is it touching the upper palate at the front of the upper palate, in the middle, or the back? Or is it resting, not touching the upper palate? Or resting, touching the upper palate, either one. And then just explore a few times. Touch your tongue to the top front part of the upper palate, and push a little bit. Push a little bit with your tongue, just into the top upper palate. Good. And then move your tongue back to the middle upper palate and push a little bit. Use your tongue muscles to push the upper palate in the middle. Good. And then try the back as well. Take the tongue right to the back, and you might feel where the tongue comes into contact, it's a little bit cooler. It's like a cooler sensation or a softer sensation when you move off the hard palate into the soft palate. And push a little bit in that position. And do you notice that in each of those positions, as you push your tongue into the roof of your mouth, that there's some connection or some relationship between your tongue and a movement in your abdomen? So try it again a couple of times. Maybe you can kind of vary between the three positions, the front, the middle, and the back upper palate, and push a couple of times and notice, is there anything that changes in the area of your abdomen? Is there any sense that as you push your tongue, the abdomen is also doing some movement? Great. Take a little rest from that. Hopefully you noticed that. If you want to drop a comment to let me know if you did. Or if you want to stay in the exercise and tell me afterwards, that's okay too. And then what I'd like you to do now is just to kind of come back to the breathing process. And instead of kind of concentrating on just the movement of the air, I'd like you to bring your attention to the expansion of the lower belly as you breathe in. So the breathing through the nose can stimulate diaphragmatic breathing. You can actually activate the diaphragm in a better way than breathing through the mouth. And as you activate the diaphragm, there's some movement of the diaphragm in an expansive way, outwards and downwards. And that can begin to open or expand the abdomen. So just breathe in and breathe out a few times. Notice this kind of sense of expansion in the abdomen, and as you breathe out, contraction in the abdomen. Good. Just do it a couple more times. And then what I'd like you to do is begin to tilt the head backwards as if you were looking towards the ceiling, but at the same time, coordinate the movement of the head with the in-breath and expanding the abdomen. So you feel that as you expand the abdomen forwards, the head begins tilting backwards. And see if you can coordinate the timing of those two things. Breathing into the belly, expanding the abdomen, letting the head tilt backwards as if you want to look towards the ceiling. And then as you breathe out, the head comes back to its normal position and you let the belly contract or come back. Good. Notice as you do that movement, you're concentrating on your breathing, the movement of your head. What's your tongue doing? If your attention is resting on your tongue, could you imagine that as part of this movement, the head tilting back, breathing in at the abdomen, that you were drawing a line up and down with your tongue, an imaginary line? Good. And notice as you do that movement, does your pelvis become involved? We did a lesson with the jaw and the pelvis earlier in the week. Do you feel that as you expand the abdomen and you tilt the head backwards, that in some way the pelvis is assisting? Or do you feel that the pelvis is in some way still? Good. Take a rest. So there's kind of lots of things to concentrate on there. The movement of the head. You could think about the movement of the eyes coming up, the movement of the tongue painting a line on the wall in front of you, the breathing into the abdomen, and the movement of the pelvis. So, in some way it's like there's this big long sequence all across our body just on this very simple movement. Okay, just take a rest, kind of, come back to how you're sitting. Notice how you're feeling. What's going on in your thoughts. Good. Okay, so now what I'd like you to do is we're going to go back to the lesson that we did and just do a little bit of movement with the jaw. So as you tilt your head backwards, what I'd like you to do is allow your jaw to open, okay? So you don't need to have your hands, I'm just putting there for a reference, but if you have your head tilting backwards at the same time as you open your jaw. So like the joint of the jaw separates from the head at the same time as the head separates from the joint of the jaw. That movement is happening in unison. And just do it a couple of times. See if you can kind of like get the jaw involved in this process. Great. Just notice as you open your jaw, as you take your head backwards, that the head is kind of going backwards. Does the head go backwards in a straight line? Does it veer off to the left or to the right? And as you open the jaw, does the jaw go downwards in a straight line? Or does the jaw veer off to the left or the right? Then notice as you tilt your head backwards now, as your breath integrated. In some way, as you open your jaw in that way, and you tilt your head backwards, is that part of the in-breath. Do you feel an expansion in your abdomen? Almost like you can imagine that your abdomen is pushing forwards, pushing something forwards as you tilt your head backwards and you open your jaw. And as you close your jaw, it's like the opposite happens. Everything kind of closes. Everything opens, everything closes. Good. Take a little rest. a few times, just come back to touching the tongue against the roof of the mouth. And just very gently, very lightly explore just touching the tongue across the palate in a couple of different places, and occasionally introduce a little bit of push. A little bit of push, as if you were kind of pushing your tongue forwards into the roof of the palate. Like almost like you want to push away the roof of the palate. And what I want you to do now, and this one's a bit funky, tilt the head backwards, open the jaw, but leave the tongue connected to the upper palate, okay? And at the same time, see if you can push away a little tiny bit. It might be a bit of a strange instruction. It's almost like as you're opening the jaw and you're tilting the head backwards, that the tongue is helping to push the head backwards. And then you let go of the push with your tongue as you close the jaw, bring the head back to normal. Good, and then rest. Just notice where your tongue is resting. Is it connected to the upper palate? Is it off the upper palate? Is it forwards? Is it backwards? Where is it kind of come back to? Good. All right, so the last thing that I want to do is explore a reaching movement with the tongue. So we were just using the tongue to push a little bit into the upper palate. Now what I want you to do is, as you tilt your head backwards and you open your jaw, I want you to stick your tongue out towards the ceiling. Okay, so you're going to open your jaw and stick your tongue out towards the ceiling, and then let everything come back. Tilt your head backwards, open your jaw, stick your tongue up towards the ceiling, and then bring everything back. And feel as you do that, can you allow your pelvis to move? Can you allow your pelvis to support this kind of reaching movement of the tongue? So that your pelvis is not static, it's not holding you in place, and the upper part of the body is doing more work to facilitate this movement of the tongue, but it's a whole unified movement of the body. The whole body is involved. And you're in the comfort of your own space. You can do what you want, you can look like what you want. So there's no there's no one watching. So just explore this movement. Take your tongue up, open your mouth, stick your tongue up into the air, as if you're kind of reaching out with your tongue, and then imagine that you're kind of drawing the tongue back into the body. Reaching out with the tongue, open the mouth, tilt the head back, and then draw everything back in. Just do it a couple of times in your own pace, in your own way. See if you can feel your breathing as you do it. And see if you can feel this kind of sense of unification or unity of the body in movement. Maybe you can notice what your eyes are doing, if your eyes are involved in the movement, or if your abdomen is involved in the movement, or your pelvis. Great. And then take a rest. And just notice how your head is resting on your shoulders or on your neck, on your spine. How is your head integrated now with the rest of your body? How are you feeling sitting on the chair? And what's the change in internal perception versus external perception from the beginning of the lesson when we started to now, and we've kind of gone through all those processes and used our attention in so many different various ways? Does the internal experience in some way feel more rich now than the external experience? And you want to keep your attention here. Great. Okay, so I did most of the information stuff at the beginning of the class. Just to say, if you want to rewatch any of the lessons, you can do so in my Thoughtful Movements community group or on YouTube. I now have 92 followers on YouTube. If I hit 100, then I can get a custom URL. So if you haven't already subscribed on YouTube, please head over there, just hit subscribe. I would be massively grateful. Is there anything else I needed to say? Oh yeah, also if you want to like and share the lessons, head over to my Facebook page, which is just facebook.com/thoughtful movements. Find the video that you liked, which is in my videos section, and hit share on it. You can't share from within the Facebook group because that's a private community, and it doesn't let you share outside of it. Okay. Thank you all for watching. Also, thank you for everyone that's donated as well. I've had some really lovely donations from people, and I really value that because it shows that what I'm doing is appreciated, and that inspires me and makes me want to carry on doing it. So thank you to everyone that's donated this week. Okay. Have a lovely weekend. I hope you enjoy it. I will be back on Monday. I'm not going to swap over to every 2 weeks yet. So I will be back on Monday, but I don't know what I'm doing yet. So let's look forward to that together. Okay, have a nice weekend. I'll see you soon. Take care. Bye.